Welcome back to the channel. Now today we've got another live match. I wanted to come back to Weston pools because recently just finished the Winter League and I feel like I learnt a few bits and the fishing's been brilliant. So I've come on the Friday bonus peg match. It's all on canal and I've drawn peg 6. Now this is a lovely looking peg. Peg I've always wanted to draw recently. There's been a few fish here. I know you can catch a few fish down the edge there, down the middle on maggots, so a dead simple day. But I've got him next to me on the last round of the league. I've got Christian on 4. There he is. Christian's on 4. Phil Hardman's on 20. So we could be up against it today. The conditions are really wild. But that big island here shelters me. So hopefully I might have to fish a bit of long pole to start with. I think that's because it's been cool overnight. It's been a lot of rain. So I'm not expecting just a simple I'm going to fish one line and that's it approach. Or sort of like 1-2 lines and just attack it. That's how I'm going to hopefully end the match, which I've sort of learnt on that Winter League. But at the start, I need to put some fish in the net. So I'm going to plumb up across. I know we can get some shallower water over there. So I'm going to try and get on that. And then I'm going to fire some maggots down the middle, I think. And I think I'm just going to either fish pellets in the edge or a bit of ground bait and maggots. I'm not sure yet. I know a load of rubbish in the water. So the wind's been coming this way for a few days, I think. But that looks really nice there, just to fish off the bank a little bit, tap some bait in, try and catch some. So I'm going to get set up because I'm waffling and I haven't got long to set up, but I'll get set up and I'll try and do a little thing before we get started. But I'm not going to set too much up, but set on maggots up, see how far we can get across on that far bank, and then I'm going to set some shorter lines up as well. So I'll come back when I've set all them up. Right, so we're all set up now. And what I've decided to do is just fish a little bit closer on my maggot line. So it's one section, so I'm going to fish like holding onto my 13. It's because it actually starts to shelve up if I go to 13 and I don't really want to be, I want to try and keep a nice flat area. So that's what I've done when I plumbed up, just a nice, probably size like a pallet, that nice flat area. I just feel like it's ideal if you need to catch on the bottom. So I've set up a 4x14 there. I've set up a top 4 line with maggots, 4x12, just in front of me, just to throw a few. And then I've set up my edge off the bank a little bit, but I can play around where I'm going to fish there. If I need to come off the bank, I'm going to start off the bank on pellets. But if I need to, I can come close to the bank with maggots or ground bait and see what's best that way. And I have set up a 16-metre line across into that shallow water, but it's not as shallow as I actually remember, which is strange. I thought it was like 3.5 foot, but it's a little bit deeper. It's probably like 4 foot, 4 and a bit foot across there. So it's a little bit deeper than I thought, and it's a long way. And also the wind's gusting around, so if it stays like it is now, it probably might be able to catch a few. But if nothing wants to be close that first half of the match, I think that's going to be key. Just getting a few bites across there, just tapping in a few, literally a few 3 mils, just softened up, little expander on the hook. I've got some ground bait if I need to feed any of that, and I've just got some maggots as well. So I've got 5 pints of maggots, probably like 2 pints of pellets and some ground bait and some hook bait. So really simple match. I'm not going to complicate it. Hopefully I'm going to catch on maggot lines, so short and long, and maybe some in the edge if I need to. But first of all, I'm going to pot. Time's we've got a minute or so. I'm going to pot that longer line. Just going to put in I'm going to say, if you've got a large pot, I'm going to feed 2 large pots. This is what I like to do, just set your peg up a little bit. So 2 large pots in there, probably like 50 mil of maggots, just to get some bait on the bottom. And then what it allows me to do is I've had to go for a little bit stronger catapult today, just because I'm not sure what the wind's going to do. And when I pop my bait in, I can literally pick up my catapult, loose feed a few over the top. I'll show you what I mean, just so I can get that area where I want to be nice and accurate. I'm not going to throw everything, I'm not going to ship across and throw bait all over the place. So just get nice and accurate in line with that tree, put my bait in, pick my catapult up. This could go everywhere because I've not used this one for a while. There we go. Probably get away with my lighter one, to be honest. But yeah, keep it nice and accurate. Put that in there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm not going to feed that short line to start with. I'm just going to see if I can get a bite on this edge on the expander. Now I'm just going to come off the bank a little bit, tap in 15 to 20 pellets. Just going to see whether I get a sign indication off that bank. So just going to go in line with that electric box. Now the reason why I'm doing this is just to see what the lake's actually going to fish like. Now what I mean by this is if I go in now and start to get regular bites, I feel like there might be a few fish feeding. I'm willing to come close. If they don't, then I'll have to think about maybe putting my pole on and shipping across and getting a few bites. Now what you've got to remember is it's been a cold morning. Yes, it's been a little bit better than it has over the winter. But it's been a cold morning. We've had a lot of rain yesterday. So I just want to be nice and gentle, just work my way in. Obviously we're on a lake with a lot of bites on this lake, if you can understand what I'm saying. So there's like skimmers, eyed, F1s, little carp, little F1s. So there's a lot of mouths to feed. So if you can just get it right and start to put a few fish in there, that's going to be the key today. It's not going to be sort of target and say, I'm not going to target, for example, I'm not going to sit here and say, right, I need 25 £3 F1s and 4 carp. That's what it's going to be. A very busy day. I might need some, probably going to need 30 or 40 pound of silvers to do any good if they feed properly, and then obviously some F1s and stuff later on in the match. That's hopefully the scenario which you're looking for. But one thing I found under that winter league is being like productive with your lines. Don't just sit there and hope they come. So I could have quite easily today just got 6 metres of pole out, just fished edge and short all day. And don't get me wrong, I would have caught later on but in the day, but I just feel like I've got that set up across just in case I need it. I don't feel like it's going to be, if I had to guess a weight now, it'd be probably like 80 to 90 pound. Would probably be a really, really good weight today. But I'm more thinking, I don't know why, I don't normally think like this, but I'm more thinking like 70, 80 pounds is going to be the realistic target. Just because I feel like, just because I had that rain, it's a little bit cooler than it has been. So I'm just trying to fish to the conditions. I'm not trying to just blast bait everywhere and go for it. Yes, I am being quite attacking with my maggot line, but that's because I can be, because like I said before, there's bites in this lake. After like 40 minutes I could go in and catch a really good run of eyed, shallow and stuff. So that's my little setup, that's what I'm thinking. Now obviously I've got Christian next to me as well, so that really helps with like knowing how the fishing is. I know how he fishes, and I know if he's going to fish, he's not going to fish long, because he drew that peg the other week and had £100 just fishing short and in the edge. So he's going to be confident with that short line. So if he starts catching really well short and say it's the middle of the match, it gives me a chance to just look and drop in and see if I can catch anything. So that's why it's good sometimes just to use people around you. If you know what they fish like, you know how they attack things, it's just good to know what certain people do in situations, just to make sure, because you could easily come and see the weights. Like over the past 2 weeks there's been a couple of £100, there's been 80s, 70s, and compared to what winter, that's been really good fishing. So you might think, right, we need to catch quicker, and all of a sudden you can just start doing daft things like that you don't need to do. Now I've literally just started probably 4 foot off the bank, maybe 5 foot, just because it's the same depth as what is closer to the bank. And what this allows is just there's not as much rubbish in the water. So early on in the spring you can often find that there's twigs, there's leaves, and often you find it's quite tight in the edge. But if you fish off the bank a little bit, it just gives you a bit more space. You can get a few more fish in your peg because it's not as tight and narrow, and also you're just fishing on a nice clean bottom, which is really important. Like I say, if I don't get a sign on this, it's a good telltale sign that maybe the fish are just a bit reluctant. It's still clear, the lake, to be fair. It's a lot clearer than I thought it was going to be. So what you might find is the fish are a bit reluctant to come in until that later stages of the match as the water or the air temperature warms up, but it is so blustery today. Not sure what that's going to do to it. The only thing is I feel like it might make fishing across on pellets difficult. So just as you can see, I'm just loose feeding that other line as well. All the time, just 10 or 15 maggots loose feeding. Now what's going to help me as well today is fishing a little bit closer, like that 11 metres, is just trying to group my bait. Last thing I'm going to do is try and fish like say 14 metres and just fire my bait absolutely everywhere, because obviously it doesn't look like it's windy in my face because obviously the island's protecting the ripple, but obviously there's wind still coming over that island, and when my maggots are going through the air, it's one thing I want to be really cautious of. Well, the wind's coming from all sorts. It's coming from my right now, blowing this sort of direction now. So just keep that line loose fed. That's what I'm thinking for that. Probably going to be a slow bit boring start maybe. Oh, that was a little sign then. I'm going to feed. A little sign then, so I might have wind run on then. But I'm just going to feed again. Not going to be shy with just holding back. I'm not going to put loads in, but I'm going to keep it quite regular. Just as a little indication then. Oh, I was just signing straight away, I wasn't looking. So I just had 2 signs in 2 trucks there, which is a good little thing. What I can do, I've got a small pot on with like a big hole in it at the minute, and what I can do if I feel like I get another sign indication now and I know the fish respond well to feed, with a bit of feed falling through the water. That's one thing I've found with pellet fishing this past few weeks, is you can feed a little bit of bait. You can be quite regular with your feeding, instead of just plonking it in and sitting there and waiting. Just being quite regular, making a bit of noise. Fish seem to like respond a little bit better to that, so if that's the case, if I start getting a few more indications and not bites, I'll whiz back, change my pot, just sprinkle it, and then what it does is just allows me to have a couple of feeds without coming back into. Obviously your rig's not in the water, you're not being efficient, and sometimes you'd be surprised how many times you can sit there for like 2 minutes, rattle a couple of pellets over, and then it just dinks under. That's one thing you'll find today, everyone will sort of like fish the same match, like maggoty, pellet and maggoty with a bit of ground bait in the matches. That's what sort of like lake this is. Get a lot of bites, just about being efficient and being on the right bite, I can't speak, the right lines at the right time. But anything that's worrying me is that gusting wind. I just feel like, because the way this has started, obviously it's a bit too early to call it, but it's not flew under straight away, and the fish are not flying into the edge straight away on your bait, so probably going to take a little bit of time to draw a few fish in. And if that's the case, I think that long pole up that shelf could be a good little area to catch a few. But I don't want to be like too regular with my feeding. That's one thing. Just because I had a sign indication, I'm just going to sit there and be nice and patient now. See what happens. Obviously I can't be back into like a yo-yo, just feeding all the time. I just want to sit there nice and patiently and see if it does dink under. But can't stress the importance of keeping your maggot lines topped up. That's one. That was a little bit after, so there's a nice little stab that as well. Be a little stocky fish, this one. Yeah. Thought it was. Yeah, they're the fish which come off. It's popped off. They're the fish we're sort of looking at. Little fish like that. Just going to put number 13 on my rig just because I feel like I need to put it down a little bit more. Well, yeah, there's the first fish. Obviously take a little bit longer than I thought, but well, not thought, I just wanted to go in it with like a cautious approach. But you've had a fish now. I'm well underway. And one thing I'm going to do is going to change my pot. I'm going to get a nice expander on. Just going to change that pot to a sprinkle, wherever it is. And get a few more pellets in there now. Sprinkle, sprinkle. What this allows me to do is have a couple of feeds now. I'll tangle my rig. It's not very good, is it? I don't know how I've done that. There we go. Right, so before I go out, I'm just going to make sure I get 2 nice feeds over where my maggot lines are. Well, my maggot line. Not fed the other one yet. Now, what you want to do is look for like signs and swirls, because you will get that with them hide now. It's getting to that time of year where them fish do come up and intercept your bait. So I'm just going to sprinkle in, probably like same as what I fed before. Hold my rig straight above it. I think for now, we'll leave it at that. I'll plod on, see if we can catch a few, and then I'll come back when obviously something changes and it gets a little bit more interesting, but that's the start. Hopefully we can put a few fish together and catch them. Right, she's joined us just over an hour in now, and I caught no more down the edge, so I went across and I've caught 2 F1s who were a bit bigger. So like one was like £1.5 pounds and one was like say £1.75 pounds, nearly £2, but the wind has just made it difficult to present it correctly, and it's a little bit too far for my liking. And I got to like half an hour in and I had like 3 fish. People started to catch around me, so I decided just to drop on me shallow maggots, and I've had probably 10 or 12 eyed on this now. Quite shallow, they're not easy to catch as well. A lot of it's been leaving my rig quite static and just waiting for the lift and drop and waiting for them fish to come in and intercept it. Now normally these eyes sort of, when they get a bit cagey, they're like you have to catch them on the drop and flick your rig past and stuff, but with this today, they've not been like that. When the little pod of them come through, the only thing is that wind now is just catching me peg slightly. When them fish come through and they start feeding, I think they're like that. Once they come out, I'm sure that is not an F1, that one. Is it? No, it's got hold on. Just keep it nice and static. That's a big eye. They're a massive stamp though, that's the thing, but that's been the key, keeping it nice and static. Ooh. You can see they're just over £1 average, so that's the one thing I was a bit reluctant to fish over, because I know there's a lot of smaller F1s than that, and if I can catch obviously some fish there. Some fish there on maggot shallow, it's a lot easier than fishing 11 metres than it is 16 with say soft pellets sort of thing. But what I've started to do now, I haven't fed that left hand edge yet, but it is in my mind to get some ground bait in there. Now when I feed that, I'll probably feed like 100 ml of ground bait and some maggots, just to get a volume in and create something. I've been feeding my short line as well, just trickling in a few maggots. Yeah, that's a nice tap. That was a nice one, that. But yeah, just steady away on these eyes now, which I thought would be the case. Christian's done exactly the same. He's fishing a little bit shorter, but he's done exactly the same, so I feel like that's going to be the right sort of match. to fish, keep trying to catch the eye, keep putting fish in the net, and then when it comes to it, let's say like the last 2 hours, you might start to, it's a big fish, this one, look at that one. Ooh. You might start to, that's a proper one, that one's like £2, that one. You might look at that, yes. You might start to, sorry I'm repeating myself, catch a few short and stuff on maggots, but I'm just chucking them dead close to me. Obviously I haven't fed anything that edge yet. I don't want to do too much too quickly. But yeah, I was a bit, that across line would have been dead good. I should have started on it really, that's where I should have started. Should have started across, I'd have probably caught say 10 or 12 fish. I think first hour just starting across, that's a little big lovely. And then obviously these feeding maggots, but when I could actually see these eyes, seeing the stamping, see how easy they are to catch when you get it right. I just had a little spell before this where I've had to drop a little bit deeper. I just felt it wasn't right, and just rather sit at like 2 foot, that's where I am now. Look at that one, it's a proper one, that one. It's like 2 fish for like £3.5 that. Sit about 2 foot deep and just let it hang there, but hook bait on fishing is like they got some ginormous maggots from these sides the other week. I've just kept a few of them, they're absolutely massive compared to a normal one. Just put one of them, little side hook it on like that. Make sure my elastic's tight, that's really important. That's often I see people with shallow fishing, they don't have the elastic tight, and obviously elastic can help you massively when obviously striking and trying to hook the fish. There's any give there, it might not set the hook properly, and that's when you can lose and bump a few fish, but well, that's about then. I'm getting a nice little run now, which is nice. Getting a nice little rhythm, my feeding's as accurate as I can get it with this wind. And once you start understanding when you're going to get your bites and when you sort of like how the fish are feeding your peg, that's when you can really put a weight together. It's nice steady runs, instead of being scatty and get some on the drop, some at dead depth, some as soon as you flick your rig in. As where now I'm just fishing 2 foot, letting it hang there. Just keep lifting and dropping, laying the rig in, feeding over the top nice and regular. Not too regular though, so I can give them a chance to, give them a hook bait chance to get seen by the fish. Now one little good thing you can do when I've caught that fish is just flick it past now. Obviously the fish will come up and intercept them maggots, and when yours is falling through just a little bit quicker than theirs, and it'll catch up with them, and if there's any fish there, just because it's a little bit bigger hook bait, you find you can just snatch at it. Didn't work that time, so I'm just going to lift and drop. Keep it nice and tight. That's the key as well. You can see I'm flicking my rig over. Now normally I don't like to do that with sort of like maggot fishing, I like to lay it in, but because of the wind today, I'm going to be quite aggressive with flicking it over, just so I straighten my rig out. That's the main thing I'm looking for with that. Keep everything nice and straight. So if a fish does grab it on the way down, which I don't think it will at the minute with 2 foot, but you can find if you fish a little bit deeper, that's really important. Just lift and drop. That's the beauty of having a bit of section behind me as well. I can easily flip my rig past. So the last thing I want to do is try and lean forward and flick it past. Be nice and aggressive with it. Lift and drop. This is what I mean by you get little bursts of like some quick fish, and then when they come in higher, it's about trying to get onto the right rig at the right time. Especially these eyed, and what you find is as well, don't sort of like think, oh, I've got a few eyed feed in there, I'm going to drop somewhere else now. You need to clatter them when you can, because they're notorious for not feeding later on in the day. So you probably catch your 20, 30, 40 pound of them now, and then later on in the match, in the last 2 hours, you'll probably hardly see one, which is, they're a bit like gorge feeders really. So that's why you've got to approach it. You've got to make the most of it these first few hours. When say the F1s are having a little break and not really revved up yet, that's what you can do. I think the same applies with like sort of like you feel like there's any fish in your peg, just leave your rig in when you feed over the top, and what you can often find is you get like a little sign or indication. Any fish there come through, sat a little bit higher. I've had a couple of signs there now where the rigs have gone but not had any or not had any fish off it. Now I've got a question there, do I drop a little bit deeper or do I go a little bit shallower? Now the beauty of it is, because it's so clear, if I could see a few fish, I'd come a bit shallower, but can't really see anything. Like dark shapes and shadows, so I'm just going to give it a minute. Miss a few bites again, I'll drop a bit deeper, I think. That's the thing, if you drop a little bit deeper, it sounds crazy, you're missing an odd bite, but sometimes they come a little bit and they're not confident enough to snatch at it, they'll snatch at it. So if you just let it fall past them, like going a little bit deeper, often you can get a nice quicker response. So I'm not going to linger on that too much. Side hook him, straight back out, get in position. Same again, keep it really important now to keep that line tight, because obviously your rig's further away, your hook bait's further away from your pole, and what you can find is if there is any fish sat a little bit shallower, see that straight away, fish sat a bit shallower further out, you can get a little quick bite off that. Now that bite, how I got that bite was actually how I was speaking about it. So what I mean is it's just gone into that last little bit, see that last tiny little bottom bit of the rig. And as it's obviously gone to trim up and gone to the bottom of the rig, it's just gone dunk. So that's what I meant, just needs to go a little bit deeper. Probably need to go like 2.5 foot, but I've just gone to 3 foot. Ooh. Lucky, wait, see that, a massive fish. Be surprised how them fish just grab. Nice big maggot. So I'll just catch one more for you, and then we'll plod on. I think it'll be a bit like this for the next couple of hours, and then hopefully once we start catching a few fish short and in the edge, but I'm definitely going to feed that edge in a minute. I think if I catch one now, I'll probably come back, take my number 6 off, feed me edge just with a bit of ground bait and some maggots. I'm going to overwet it slightly so it gets down to the bottom. And this is where lifting and dropping, if you're fishing a little bit deeper, it can make really important. See that there? So keep that nice and straight. Everything arcs over. Just keep an eye on that float for a little jab, because you can often get a plug as it's falling through, because obviously it's a little bit further away. But lift and drop. Now one telltale sign that the fish are shallow as well is that I dropped on the bottom and all I caught was like little perch and stuff, and fish that you don't really want to catch, just because obviously there's not the right fish on the bottom. All the fish are like obviously sitting shallow and eating that way. The same applies when you're sort of like edge fishing in your short line. If you drop on it and you catch the fish you're not trying to catch, there's a bite, trying to catch, then it's really important just not to waste time. Waste time and just try and put them in the net. But just got 9's hollow on, obviously because they're a big stamp fish, but it's a little bit small, that one, but it's not to be sniffed at. Just pull that down a second. Right, get rid of the pole pots into that pot. I'm just going to put a bit of water in this. So I just found some Super Crush and some F1 Dark. I'm not really too fussed, and what I'm going to do is put a handful of maggots in the bottom, and I'm just going to put like a heavy ball just loose. And I'm not going to fish it tight at the minute to the edge. I'm going to fish it in line with the aerator. Feed it there. Feed it there. So I'm going to plod on. I'm trying to catch him, that's the wrong rig. on shallow rig, trying to catch him, and hopefully catch a few more, and I'll come back when something changes and it gets a little bit more interesting. But at the minute we've got probably 15 or 16 eyed, and I want to say, well, we've got 3 F1s, so not too bad at the minute. Right, you join us with 2 hours in, and it's got a little bit different now. One thing I noticed, I think Christian was fishing on the bottom, and I stopped getting any bites shallow, so just thought I'd just have a little look on the bottom. And I've had, say, 4 or 5 F1s, a big eyed, or 4 F1s, a big eyed, maybe 5 F1s, yeah. Big eyed is like I said, and then it's just steady away fishing. Like there's an odd fish shallow still, but they're really hard to catch. But if I just persevere, be nice and patient, I get a nice little dink on the bottom like that, catch an F1. Now it's mad because I was a bit like, my head was a bit pickled, because if I've actually come from a night shift and just wanted a day's fishing. My head was a bit pickled because I feel like I was going to come. I'm throwing some bait on the top 4, next to nothing, just a little bit. I was dropping on there and I caught one, but I lost it because I didn't change my hook length, and it was the one from last week and it just snapped. But I felt like I should have just literally started a new line at 6 metres and just persevere with that. But I feel like now, getting into a nice little rhythm, of just feeding a little bit heavier, keeping it nice and tight, and getting a few F1s on the bottom. And I think if I stay out there, I have still got the chance of them popping up shallow. Now I've got a 4x14 F1 maggot on there. Yeah, so I've had six F1s on this long line since I've been on it. I've just found the key is just keep that feeding really tight. Not feeding a lot. I don't need to like lever loads in to get it through the eyed and stuff. There is an odd eyed swimming around, and you do get an odd miss bite off one, but a lot of the time it's just been lay my rig in, keep everything nice and tight over that pile which I've fed, and just wait for the little dink and you get an F1, which I think is key. And like to catch them on the bottom 2 hours in, if you just catch steady away, I feel like that's going to be really important. That's a sign. But I kept feeding my edge, chuck an odd maggot down there and chuck an odd maggot on this short line, because that could be really good. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want to split my fish, so I don't want to bring this any closer and upset that line, because I'd have to get rid of that line. It just made, in my head, it just started making like a load of, it makes sense really, but what I've decided to do is just persevere out there. I've had an odd foul looker as well, so if that happens again I might just plumb up again. But one thing I could do as well is take my 13 metre piece off, so I can just fish like 11 metres, nice and comfortable on the bottom. And this is the thing, it's like fish nice and comfy on the bottom. Add a little burst of them eyes shallow. There's an odd one lingering around, so if I feel like I'm going to catch an odd bite shallow again, but it dries up a little bit on the bottom. See, that's a nice bite, that one. See there, just got a little bit bare, so there's me. If you asked me probably 5 minutes ago, I was probably thinking about moving and just persevering on the 6 metre line, because I think, but that's what Chris is catching on. But the thing is, I don't want to start messing around with my lines. I set my peg up, that's how I'm going to fish, and I feel like now I've found some fish. I've got 10 F1s in there, that's probably going to go £17, say, and then I've probably got, I don't know, some eyed, which God knows what they'll go. Probably got, say, £15 of eyed, £20 of eyed nearly, 15 odd pound of them. So we got nearly £40 with 35-40 with 2 hours in, which is, like I said before, if you're fishing for £75-80, that's more than well on the way. Because I feel like, obviously we had a little slow start, not getting it right, fishing in the right place, then I've pulled it back with a few eyed, and now we're getting regular bites off the right fish. So at the minute, I can't really see Chris, to be honest. I can just see where he's catching, so I'm not really trying to watch him. But anyone else I can see is not really catching that much. But you get an F1 chuck on the bottom, it's not to be sniffed at, but that's the thing when you've got good anglers around you. I was next to Chris actually on the last match, I was here, and it just makes fish a lot better. Good anglers, they make good decisions, and it's sometimes nice to be next to them, because it feels like, say now, I'm going to change my hook. I'd get really, not impatient, but I'd just be going through the motions. I don't want to do that. I want to try and push my peg as I can and try and get the most out of it. Move on. It'd be nice if it win the match, but it's all about having a good day's fishing, and I love it when you can understand what's going on in your peg, and at the minute we're having one of them days where I understood how to catch the mide, and now understanding how to catch these F1s on the bottom. Now I'm fishing actually really light. I'm actually fishing an XFS, size 16 and 010 Aki power, just because I feel like there isn't many carp that are going to feed. I'm not really going to get bottomed out and broke by anything, and just think it does help. A little bit of lightness of your rig, a little bit lighter hook length material. That was on the drop. See that there now. So now, once we start getting a few fish on the bottom, I'm going to really important just to I don't know what this is, it might be a little F1. But really important to instead of just flicking my rig in not thinking about it, I'm going to flick my rig in next chuck and actually hold on to it so it follows it down, it's doing what I want it to do. Follow my bait to the bottom. And then this is where you can understand where the fish rise off the bottom. I've got a 4-foot shallow rig if I need one, I've got a 3-foot one. So if the fish start rising off the bottom, out their own accord, I can chase them around and follow them around. So just put 2 maggots on. It's really important just to keep active, keep your lines fed. Keep that short line fed. So now what I mean by this is I'm going to hold my pole, flip my rig out, 10 o'clock, flick it in position in line with that tree, drop my back shot, just keep everything nice and still. So I'm going to feed over the top. Now as it falls through the water, I'm just going to keep it nice and still. So it's arced over now, it's probably my bulk's registered now, so it's just my droppers. Boom, they are. Beautiful. That is fantastic fishing. I don't know what this is, a little small fish maybe, a little F1. But if you plunk that rig in, you could have missed this fish. If you just trot that rig in, you could have literally missed this fish, and that's what you don't want. But these, I feel like these will come shallow by the end of the day, but I just wanted to do a little update because it was interesting. I found it interesting that we're catching a few fish on the bottom, being nice and flicking a few maggots in. Same applies with that elastic, just keep it nice and tight. Flicking a few maggots in, so flip my rig out, keep it all tight. I'm on my mark, in line with the tree. Let everything fall down. Now you want to keep an eye on where your bait is, because that's where you can tell where the fish are rising off the bottom, how soon you can pick a shallow rig up. So now I feel like my bulk's settled now. The droppers are falling. I feel like that's solid on the bottom now. Just keep nice and still as indication. Boom, boom. Right, instead of just plonking it through, I'm going to flick it in 10 o'clock. Hold that level with the water. Not going to loose feed over the top, just imagine them fish grubbing around and see this maggot now falling in. You can get a quick bite off him and let my rig run. So let my rig trim up. There you go. Oh, nearly had it perfect then. So this is where it could happen now. If I miss a bite now, I might have to pick my shallow rig up. I'm not going to do it straight away, but that's a little telltale sign that if you start missing bites, there's obviously fish in the peg and they're competing, they're going to rise off the bottom. But I will feed next. If I miss another bite, I will feed next chuck. Just give it time. Oh, that's a little sign then. I'm going to feed. Try and feed around my float, what a pillock. Yeah, that's off the bottom now. Is that a skin bob? Go on, the skimmers. So yeah, I'm going to plod on with this. It's a nice big skimmer, that one actually. Look at that one. Everything's just massive in here when you catch them. Like the silver's a big stamp, the eider are a big stamp, the skimmers, look at that, it's a pound. Don't mind catching them. So I'm going to stop talking rubbish, carry on catching because I've got a little method sussed out and I want to try and get as much as I can. And I'll see you when it changes. Right, so you join us with 90 minutes left. And we've got 22 F1s and probably, I want to say like 30 odd pounds of eyed. Now, I had a good little run on the bottom like I was catching before. And then I've had a go in the edge. And caught a couple of fish, but they were bigger as well. But I tried to be clever and tried to bring it towards myself and it wasn't like that. So I've just gone back to 6 metres down the edge. I've tried to make that top 4 line work. I've dropped on it, I've not had a fish on it, but I've just tried to make it work. I fed a bit of ground bait, it didn't seem right, so I've just binned that off now and I'm just concentrating on fishing these 2 lines. So either on the bottom, shallow, deep. At the minute I'm catching, stop me hook. At the minute I'm catching like 4 foot deep. Just because when I've just dropped on the bottom then, literally I've caught like 2 or 3 F1s, but I've had a lot of liners and I've foul hooked 1 or 2 fish. So I thought, right, I'll just come off the bottom slightly and see if that was any better, because I've tried fishing like between like 2.5 foot and 18 inch, and it's just, I get like runs of a couple of eyed then next to nothing, and it's quite frustrating to like, I feel like now I need a consistent run because James is catching on peg 42, Chris is obviously still catching. I don't know what they've got, but I just feel like I need a consistent run now. I need to get to like 40 odd F1s, and I feel like if I can get to that, I feel like I can maybe push a ton, like £90 a ton. So I'm just concentrating on 2 lines, putting some ground bait down the edge. I'll go back on that in a minute because I've changed it back now. And fishing shallow with this, but because I've dropped a bit to 4 foot now, it's just been ever so slightly better. The weather's horrible, but these are absolutely massive. Great fish. That's probably like a smallish one, so it's going to be easy a pound. Anything, I think that everyone's catching the same sort of fish, so no one's like running away with it, big 2-pounders, but I can just keep plodding away. That's me shallow. I feel like I might do okay. Definitely have got that edge line to drop on in a bit. Probably have another drop on that, because see if it fins out on this, and then I'll have a drop on that again, because I've dropped 2 drops on it and I lost the fish because of it snapped me in the roots, and then I caught a big like 2.5 pounder, so hopefully there's not a big one lingering in the edge. But for the minute I've just dropped to 4 foot deep, it's loose feeding some maggots. I was on the bottom a minute ago, but I got liner to death, so just try and clear them fish out. Clear them fish out, and then that's whatever we're all about. Oh, what is hard, I think? Yeah, if I stop getting signs shallow, then I can always drop back on the bottom. This is lovely, isn't it? Lovely. But if I can keep catching like this, that's probably like 3 fish there for probably like £4, probably a bit more. Ooh. Same applies, just keep everything straight, keep everything nice and direct. Now one thing I found is when the eyed come back in my peg, when I was fishing on the bottom, I stopped getting as many bites now. I thought it was maybe because it upset them, but I just generally think it's because the eye were eating the bait obviously, and no bait was getting to the bottom for the F1s. So I upped my feed a little bit, that was better. that works, so that's worth noting. If there's a few F1s on the bottom middle of the match and you've got an odd hide in your peg, and what I mean by that is the ones that are sitting like really shallow, so that I could actually see them hide, that I could probably really hard to catch, but in your peg eating your bait and causing you problems to try and catch on the bottom. As we're now just fishing at 4 foot. I could always put my 3 foot rig on if I feel like I need to. Yeah, I'm missing a few bites now. So I mean, just clear the fish out, see what you can catch, and then drop back onto different areas. But just it's when I wanna film, the rain comes. But you can see we're getting a load of regular bites. See, I'd say that was an F1. Yeah, it is. Well, that's one thing I've found. I've fished a little bit deeper and I've caught the odd F1. So we'll keep plodding. Keep trying to catch him. That's what I mean about keeping your rig tight. I'd had it straight away there. So we're just under 90 minutes to go now. And what's happened is I caught a few fish on the bottom. These are massive, these things. A few fish on the bottom. On maggots, that was really good, catching some F1s. Look at that. And then some either come back in my peg again. That's a proper dinosaur, that one. Some either come back in my peg again, so I caught some shallow. I've had a little drop in the edge. I caught 2 fish there, but I lost one. But I tried to be clever and I tried to bring it towards myself, and I dropped back in again and I didn't have a bite. So what I've done is I've got rid of that short line now. I'm just focusing on fishing ground bait and maggots down the edge, and then fishing shallow and on the bottom on this long pole, because I feel that's my best bet to try and do well, because there's an odd person catching now. Like James is catching the edge, I think Chris is fishing in the edge, but he's been back in 2. And then there's an odd people getting bites, so really need to start putting, not a serious weight in the net, but we need to start putting fish in the net regular and get in the zone of where we're going to try and catch and target the 2 areas. So I haven't dropped back on that ground bait line yet, but I'll just prime it up. Just clinging on for dear life there. Pull my trousers up, revealing all to the world. But yeah, it's been steady away. These are doing real. Oh, that's an F. Talking rubbish. That's an F1. But them are doing catching. They've been a real big stamp. That's 24 F1s now. They're not all massive. Probably go about. I want to say probably go like 35, 36 pound, but I've probably got the same if I, to be honest. I must have easily. As you've seen, they are a big stamp. Now what I found is when I was catching on the bottom, some I'd come back in the peg, and what I mean by that is they come dead high. Not a lot of fish, but they come dead high. Like I thought it'd upset the bottom fish, but what I found was just up my feed a little bit, and it generally got better, because obviously you could get some bait to the bottom, as where them I'd whizzing round in my peg, just causing me issues by obviously not letting any bait get to the bottom at all. See, there's an odd hide there now, so I could probably pick my shallower rig up now. I'll try and catch one on this. And if I don't, I'll pick my 2 foot rig up, because I can see the odd shape and stuff. Sometimes it's just worth catching 1 or 2. That's an F1. It's worth catching 1 or 2 and then just thin them out again. So I'll just do that on camera for you, because That can be one thing, you can see a few fish. That's an F1 this, that's what we want. Tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop that edge worm here as well. That's a nice little ghosty F1. Ooh, don't get out the rubbish in the edge. I think because all the wind yesterday, a load of twigs and branches have come off the trees and landed in the lake and then blew to this area. So yeah, that's where the wind was going, but I just fishing that little bit deeper there. I might not need to go 2 foot again. I'll go back out on this rig after I've fed my edge and see. But that's what we want them ones. That's nearly £2 that thing there. That was hooked under the chin, so yeah. That just tells me I'm going to shallow up actually. Bit all over the place, but yeah. Just hooked him under the chin, so I'm going to shallow up a little bit. I'm going to feed a little bit more wet ground bait. A few pinch of maggots. A little clump of ground bait. In line with the aerator, about 2 foot off the bank. Where's me ground bait? There it is. I haven't used much to be fair, probably only fed 3 pints so far. Woo. Right. I'm gonna pick up me 2 foot rig. Pull my shot down. Any problem with stops, they just move about, so just be careful. Side hook a maggot. So we got that topped up that line. Hopefully we get a quick bite off this one. Probably be an eye. Could be wrong. If it isn't, we're laughing. Now it's lovely now, there's no wind that's bothering us and causing us problems. Keep a tight line, let everything fall through. If you don't get a bite, you can just lift your rig out, drop it in again. Don't try and lower it and try and drop it like quite erratically, just because that makes like that snatching, and I feel like them eyes especially, they love that sort of like snatch sort of thing. But one thing I do feel is when you do have to fish a little bit shallower, you need to be a bit more regular with your feeding just to bring the fish up. As well, when you're 4 foot, you've got a lot more depth and a lot more fish sitting at a deeper depth sometimes. Don't get me wrong, if they were crawling out of the water, you get away with it, but there's me thinking it's right, but I'm just going to go off it. Try and catch one more for you, and then we'll come back when hopefully we're just catching one abung in the edge. Deep rig in there. That's the thing, you go a little bit deeper, you just get a few more bites. Just makes your life a hell of a lot easier just putting fish in the net. So yeah, I probably would have got a bite off an eye then, because I can see one or two dark shapes there. But I'm just going to lay my rig in, feed over the top, hold it tight, watch for any signs and indications. Now one thing I don't want to do is if I do strike, I just want to give it a little lift, like a pellet sort of lift, like give it like a foot and drop it back down again. Last thing I want to do is lay my rig in again and again and again. I know I can catch it 4 foot. That's what I'm trying to achieve, so if I get any signs or indications, I'm just going to lift and drop. See, if I do pull out too much, I'm going to flick it back in. Make sure it's tight though, especially when you're fishing deeper. It's so important, because especially with a mad, they linger off the back of your feed, and if you can feed right at the back of your, can flick a rig right at the back of your feed, it's coming through, you'd be surprised how many fish you actually catch that just pull your elastic out. Now one thing we might have here, we might have just thinned them out a little bit, so you might have to drop on the bottom, or might have to try a different depth shallow. Just try and catch one. There we go. That's if that's foul up, I reckon I'm just going to go in with a 3-foot rig. Just because I feel like they've actually come off the bottom a little bit more now. This is what they do, they'd have little spells where they're at certain depths. Yeah, it's come off that. Yep. I'm going to go to my 3-foot rig. Yeah, they have little spells where they go certain depths for a little bit, and obviously maybe more fish are coming the peg now, so it'd be really important to, obviously they come a little bit higher. You think, oh, only a foot difference, but it doesn't make a hell of a difference. You'd be very surprised what can happen. Keep everything tight. Try and catch one more. But yeah, might need a little rest just to build it back up. A little drop in that edge might be good. Catch 4 or 5 bit bigger fish there, and then get back on that shallow line. And we can catch F1s on it. And catch them really, really quick. So I don't want to be too static with my bait, moving it around all the time. Not like a jigger, but just give it 10 seconds, lift and drop again. I'd imagine them fish, they're literally sat there watching stuff. Keep that loose feed going in just so you can draw them in. Might come a little bit higher. You've got to be careful though, sometimes it is smaller like nuisance fish that does this, and sometimes there's just not any bigger fish that are like shallow in your peg. So the best thing might be just to drop on the bottom and see if I can just snare a few on that. And then if they come back up, they come back up. Because to me, if they were proper fish, that'd be flying under like that one. Left one's out. I mean, you can tinker about with your depth and stuff. That's what we're going on at the minute. Catching shallow. We've got the edge set up, so hopefully we can have a nice little end and see how we get on. So I'll carry on catching. Well, I hope I will, and I'll see you in a bit. Right, you join us for the last 15, and it's been a weird little period this. I had a run of a good little run down the edge. I caught 6 fish and they were all big, and then went back shallow for like 20 odd minutes, 25 minutes, and only caught like 3 fish and a couple of eyed and crucians. No F1s, but getting a few liners. I couldn't really work out where they were, so I decided just for the last 15 minutes I'm still gonna feed it just in case something happens with my edge, but I'm just gonna sit in this edge, because when I've caught them there, I've had probably 3 fish there for like £10, big F1s, proper old vintage things, and everything else that I caught there was like £2 as well, so decent sized fish. Just got to be patient with it. Just feeding like a cut down large pot full of over wet ground bait, and then just 2 maggots on the hook. Just dropping it in. Just being nice and patient, don't really get many liners, and then all of a sudden it just flies under. Now, I couldn't work out that shallow fishing. I caught a few fish, like caught one big one at 3 foot, but I couldn't get linered to death at 4 foot. Get an odd bite but linered, and then you go shallower and you can't get a sign. I just think it's a case of them either just come back in the peg and upset things, or there's not enough F1s there. I'm not really sure. can see an odd eye when you feed, like. But I don't know what's going to happen because I haven't really been watching anyone. I can't really tell what Chris has caught and what James has caught, or anyone around the lake's caught. So we've got 39 fish now, which is a good little. Not sure what they're going to go. Say we got that 39 fish, and then we've got some hide. But I don't know. God knows what they're going to go. They could go £30. They could go £45. They've been big fish. We've had a few of them as well. See that dead patient fishing down that edge. As me saying they were bigger stump, and I think it's. Oh, yeah, they are a bit bigger. You have to be really, really patient just to try to trap something to your peg. So I've got 40 fish now. It's really important. This ground bit's got to be damp. Over wet dampness. Last thing you want is it to fluttering around and causing the fish to come off bottom and give you problems. Feed that. Oh. You got caught in the tree then. So lay my rig in. Feed my bait on that little tight area. Little nugget, and just put my rig just past towards the bank. So I'm not actually fishing right on top of my ground bait. Just feel like that stops any silly bites and liners and stuff. They have to bite straight away. Ooh. I've got Piggly in the camera. Now I've just got a weird float on for this. I've just got an F1 fine in the 4x12 version. Just wanted a nice light float because I felt like I'd been catching an odd fish, odd smaller fish and stuff, but just what I sort of had. See that there? I want nice dodgy ground bait. That's the one. Yeah. So I'm gonna feed that loose. I'll bulk in one, just make sure it gets down to the bottom nice and quickly. Now I would like, if I was fishing a little bit closer, to like lay my rig in, but because I'm fishing, there's like a rope that goes across and there's an odd bit of debris floating around. The last thing I want to do is like lay my rig. I don't really know where that debris is, so the last thing I want to do is start laying my rig everywhere and it getting caught up and I can't get in position. I just want to bomb it down to the bottom, get it in position where I'm fishing nice and quickly. Hopefully them fish fly in and start eating it dead quick. There is just strange that we don't get any lines, you just get like a nice positive indication which says to me it's the right bait they want to eat. The right bait you want to eat, just come in, eat it. It's just going to be really attractive as well. But if we can have a nice little finish on this. We've got 42 fish now. Try and set a target of 45, so we've got 8 minutes to catch 3. It's doable. But Just make sure everything's right, so all the little fundamentals like my hook bait's on right. Even put baits right. Probably. Just keep feeding that shallow line, but I don't feel like you're going to need it now. There's a load of rubbish coming through now, so you've got to be careful where you put your rig. That little nugget, lay my rig just behind it, drop it down. Now one thing, it was like a telltale sign that I've caught and exhausted the peg before on this was I went in, dropped in and it caught them 6 fish quite quickly and quite easily, and then I waited a while for a bite, and then the next fish I actually hooked was foul hooked and I lost it. That just told me I just exhausted the peg. A bit of rubbish in the peg there. Just exhausted, so all I did was put like another 100 mil of bait in again and went back shallow. Yeah, I had a mega day's fishing. Been nice and simple. Probably could have fished that middle line a bit closer, if I'm truly honest. Shouldn't have messed around with trying to fish across or trying to fish that short liner sort of thing, but it's done me well in the past when the fish want to eat maggots short. But I feel like every F1 that we've caught further out has been like wanting to be in the deepest bit of the lake, and other than like the edge fish. See, it's deceiving this, because you think you're not getting any signs, you're not getting any bites. You think, oh, it's not quick enough, I'll just go back shallow. But where you got to see it now is I could go back shallow and I could probably hook 2-eyed, 3-eyed, maybe, if I'm lucky, for like £3, or I could hook 2 fish here for probably £7-8. That's what we gotta. I'm taking that gamble. So you gotta think, I don't feel like you're gonna have a massive, not gonna catch any big fish shallow. I've only had one. But in the edge you've had 3 or 4 of them big fish. They quite easily just come in now. Oh, that's fine. Not easy again. Have a little indication, but I don't think that rig moving helped. Put it back in. I'll bite straight away then. The weather has been miserable, but I've had a nice match, to be fair. The only thing I wish I did at the start was probably fish across, just to get some bites, and then I wish I was a bit more braver and changing my feeding a little bit when I got them eyed in the peg, and they were causing me problems, but they were just eating my bait, and I was catching a nice little steady run of F1s on the bottom. And it's not because the F1s are gone, it's just they've gone because there's no bait on the bottom for them to actually eat. As well, if you up like I did, I upped my feed a little bit and just brought a few, got a bit of bait on the bottom, and then brought them F1s back in and just had a nice little run again. But if I just twigged onto that a little bit quicker, might have been able to have a little bit better run. But like I say, we've had a mint day's fishing, had some massive eyed, some mega F1s. It's just a shame. After I definitely thought we were going to get 2 or 3 more then in that edge. That's the thing, you just sit there. And you just don't get any signs. That's foul up, that fish, 100%. Yeah, that's not in the mouth, that. I don't feel that's in the mouth. The bite was dead weird. It's one thing you can find if you've not got enough fish coming in. That's a big blonde one, or ghosty one. If you've not got enough fish coming in, and there's obviously a little bit too much bait there, but hopefully I can get this out, because this is the sort of stamp I was talking about, like 2 and a bit pound this is. See that there? Like a proper chunky ghosty F1. Look at that. Foul up, told you it's fouled. I'm just gonna next chuck, I don't know how long we got left. 2 minutes. Yeah, next chuck I'm just gonna put a couple of maggots in. Just because I feel like maybe get me grubbing round a bit, but mint days fishing. Hopefully it's an interesting live match for you. Bit of everything, bit of shallow fishing, bit of bottom fishing, bit of edge fishing, but just come out of that Windsor League and I just felt like it was a great time to come here, because the way it's been fishing, just been fantastic, and there's so much to learn. It's not just literally, oh, you're just catching the edge of one a chuck all day here, or you just catch one a chuck shallow. It's all about different depths, different lines, making the most of the lines, building them up, knowing which areas you can fish. So that's the all out. I'll get packed up, try and get all this wet and maize off me. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed that one, and I'll see you when I've got the results and see how we got on. Right, we're all weighed in now, and I've weighed 112 pound. I think I had like 52 pound of side, and then I've had 60 pound of F1, so 43 fish for 60 pound, 112 pound. That's won the match. Christian's been second with 98 on 4, and Nathan Spain's been third with 94 off peg 16, which was the bonus peg as well. So we've had a mega match. I'll just show you. Obviously you've seen all day. So had a few fish down there on ground bait. Nice little match on maggots there. I feel like them eyed have got me out of it, and they were a big stamp. Probably had like 40 eyed for 50 odd pounds, so a big stamp of fish, and they've obviously helped me win the match. And sometimes you got to think, I could see James catching some stockies, and I knew the eyed are a little bit bigger, so that's why I've just persevered with that. Obviously, if you want to be critical at the start of the match, I maybe should have just gone across on pellets and just got some bites early, but I wanted to see how the lake was fishing, see if pellets were any good, because they've not been, and then maggots has been brilliant. Maybe should have been a bit, middle of the match, been a bit braver with feeding a bit more to try and catch on the bottom. I could have fished probably a little bit closer, but then maybe I wouldn't have caught the eyed. So hindsight, it's very easy to be like that after the match when you know what weights you're fishing for, but I didn't really think. I thought it was like 80 to 90 pound would have been a really good weight today. So we had a mega day's fishing. Nice to win the match. Hope you've enjoyed the live match. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.